So against the rest of the Big Ten, and keep in mind, everyone, sometimes these rankings sound low. The conference is now at 18 teams. So let's also keep that in mind. At quarterback, USC 3, running back 9, receiver 3, offensive line 4, defensive line 10, linebacker 11, defensive back 12, special teams 2, coaching 4.
Wow.
So double digits in all 3 defensive position groups.
Yes.
Yeah, that like you can pretty clearly see that just, the expectation for USC's defense is not all that high on a national level. And some people might get upset, but again, I think this defense is going to greatly exceed the national narrative and the national expectations. And you know what? If there are USC defensive players watching this show, look, well, here you go. You are viewed as a lower half, the lower 9 in the 18-team Big Ten. Phil Steele thinks you're a lower half group, defensive line, linebackers, secondary in the Big Ten. If that's not motivation, I don't know what is. So you have some bulletin board material there.
And I'm just going to go back again, and you know this, Mark, and I got a little bit of this when you set up that interview for our channel. If you guys want to look at it, last year, we went over USC with Phil Steele right here on the USC Voice of College Football. He's really into the models that he builds. Also have to do with I just lost it. There's a pattern, but that's the wrong word I'm trying to think of. But basically, the model he uses, there's a lot of year-over-year stuff as well. And I'm wondering if that model just gets gummed up with all the pieces that you're trying to fit. Because let's face it, this year is not going to be your typical year-to-year change. Look at, count the number of starters from last year's defense. You've got like a couple. You probably have a couple of guys. We have an entirely new starting defense, and you have an entirely new defensive coaching staff. The pieces we brought together, to all of us, to anybody who follows football, knows that you bring stars from schools around, not just stars, but guys who were conference players in their conferences. You're going to have a solid thing. I think we're looking at the shell shock of multiple years of poor play, and I think that does affect whatever these rankings are, because I don't think it reflects the one that hit me was 4th best coaching staff in the Big Ten, which was kind of interesting for me. Who are the top 3? Well, I mean, you know who they are. This would be Ohio State 1. Do they?
Let me grab it. It is Iowa 1, Ohio State 2, Penn State 3.
So we're ahead of Michigan. That's really interesting.
Well,
that's
a lot of turnover.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of turnover at
Iowa 1.
Right?
I mean, Iowa, being number 1 on defense and special teams, sure. But there's this thing called offense.
And they've got a new offensive coordinator who was pretty successful at Western Michigan.
Well,
we have offensive coordinators everywhere. So
a lot of stock in one guy. And to be more specific, putting a lot of stock in one guy who's not a confirmed rock star in the profession. Let me put it that way.
Sure.
Maybe he will become a rock star, but we haven't seen it yet.
He is UCLA last in coaching. 18.
Well, that's not surprising.
Yeah.
With Eric Bieniemy, that is surprising. Like,
but that's just one coordinator. Matt. One coordinator does not make a coaching staff.
Well, okay, not talking about making a coaching staff. I'm just saying not being 18 in an 18-team conference. Like I would say Purdue. Who's on Purdue? And I mean, no offense to Ryan Walters, but like he's just, he just hasn't had time to prove himself. But Eric Bieniemy, like he's proved himself more than anyone on Purdue's staff, right? So
my thinking is once you get to 15, really at that point, you're just, you're really, as the margins probably get pretty thin, right? Once you get to about the 15th best coaching staff in an 18-team conference.